Namaste. This is Rahul from Mumbai in India. Very proud to be part of the founding group that put together the G20 Young Entrepreneur Alliance. As a business person, I run an agribusiness company, have 9 million farmers, and there's a lot of education that goes into selling specialty farm inputs in India. And I'm very proud to have education at the core of everything I do.
Thank you so much, Rahul. And obviously, many of you are educators, either by default or by virtue of what you do. You support this ecosystem of entrepreneurship in many different ways, whether it's policy or action, etc. But going back to education as a central theme here, what would you say is the missing link between education and innovation? And what role do you think formal and informal education entities are playing at the moment to address it? Or what role should they be playing to address it?
To fill when we create entrepreneurs who are innovative is to go from a best practice to a next practice. And a next practice is a completely new way of doing things, where scale, speed, precision, price to performance, sustainability, and the rule of law and rights become the core and fundamental of what we need to sort of inculcate within the entrepreneurial spirit. As through our entrepreneurship and innovation vertical, where we try to sort of make this an internal part of the being of every young entrepreneur. And sort of they are able to make this fundamental to everything that they set out to do. And another very core element is institutionalizing financial literacy right from the school level. Because unless from the school level, from 5th, 6th grade, we do not have financially literate young people, there is no way that they would kind of get that drive or even the wherewithal to have the skills to become an entrepreneur. So I think the next practices and financial literacy, I believe, are the two missing links that the whole world kind of needs to work around.
That's very interesting, and perhaps even more so, being the only female on this panel, I could say even more so, incorporating it into formal education, because young girls don't necessarily have the advantage of acquiring this, from their environment so much.
Well, I think, it's an amazing time to be alive. I think there's a time that would really define the future world. It's really this time. And I think we are blessed with that opportunity. What I think are the new skills required for an entrepreneur in this time. A very, very different set of skills, which would be focused on resilience, on agility, on courage, on passion, purpose, and also on wisdom. So I think this entire set is very different from the kind of skill sets you would perhaps have trained people for in the past. So I think the skill sets for an entrepreneur are very, very different, and the way they pitch their personal brand is going to be, I think, the way they define the future. Asma, I'd like to talk about from the rural side. When we talked about what works and what doesn't, AI and machine learning and a lot of data analytics are actually being done at the core of what rural India perhaps comes out in the forefront to do. And in the last 6 months, frankly, rural India and farmers have surprised us in terms of the speed and the agility with which they've actually adapted technology so seamlessly. In fact, I deal with 9 million farmers, and the entire farmer training program of my company is actually now moved completely online. And to see them simply click and connect, accept that information, and then go and make a purchase, because every knowledge that is shared goes along with a mobile coupon that they redeem for a purchase of the product on which they have actually been trained, which tells us exactly the kind of success in terms of conversion that has taken place. We've also seen farmers looking at good agricultural practices, being trained using machine learning, using photographs that they send to a central server and get their symptoms and deficiencies mapped. And all of this has happened just using images and video. The fact that we've actually been able to digitize in rural India without the written word, but using language, the language of images and the language of video very, very easily to break the literacy barrier, and been able to just use the data connectivity that India is blessed with to train farmers in the remotest parts of the country extremely seamlessly. So I think the AI, ML, the entire data connectivity, data access, rural India has surprised us in the last 6 months, which basically meant The point is, we actually don't realize the power of what's already in our hands. And these kind of situations have allowed us to sort of be, to use those very, very effectively.